The first bullet tore through Maya Chen's back before she even heard the gunshot. The second followed a millisecond later, ripping through her shoulder blade. The third shattered her collarbone. The fourth grazed her skull, sending her vision into a kaleidoscope of white-hot pain and darkness. But none of that mattered. All that mattered was the man pressed beneath her body. Her boss, trembling but breathing, alive, because she'd thrown herself between him and death. The luxury penthouse had transformed into a war zone in less than 30 seconds. Smoke grenades hissed toxic clouds across marble floors. Shattered glass from the exploded windows glittered like deadly diamonds in the afternoon sunlight as masked men dressed in black tactical gear moved with military precision through the chaos. Their automatic weapons trained on anything that moved. Kong Minjun's security team was scrambling, caught off guard by the speed and brutality of the assault. Maya had seen the danger 60 seconds before it arrived. She'd been in the kitchen preparing afternoon tea when something in her gut twisted with recognition. A familiar dread she hadn't felt since Lagos, since the night her father's blood had pooled on their veranda floor while cartel soldiers stood over his body. The delivery truck that had been parked across the street for 2 hours. The maintenance worker who hadn't shown up. The almost imperceptible blind spot in the security camera coverage that she'd noticed while cleaning the monitors that morning. Her father's voice echoed in her dying consciousness. Learn to see danger before it sees you, Maya. It's the only way you survive our world. She'd survived Lagos. She'd survived losing everything. She'd survived 8 months of invisible servitude in this cold Seoul penthouse where she was nothing more than the help. A Nigerian woman cleaning floors and serving coffee while sending money home to her 16-year-old sister, Amina. But surviving had taught her to recognize the signature of violence. And when those windows exploded inward, her body had moved on pure instinct. Kong Minjun, tech billionaire, venture capitalist, and according to whispers among the staff, something far more dangerous beneath the polished surface, was pinned beneath her now. Blood soaked through her uniform. Her blood spreading in warm rivulets that she could feel but somehow couldn't process as real. The pain was distant now, replaced by a strange floating sensation that she recognized from her nursing training back home. Shock, blood loss, organ damage. She was dying. Across the smoke-filled chaos, Minjun fought like a demon unleashed. She'd only spoken to him directly maybe 5 times in 8 months of working in his home. The Winter Wolf, they called him in Seoul's underworld, though she'd only learned that from Mrs. Kim, the elderly housekeeper who'd taken pity on the foreign girl struggling with Korean. Minjun was devastatingly handsome in that sharp-edged way that made women's hearts stop, with dark, intense eyes that seemed to calculate the worth of everything they touched and usually found it wanting. He'd looked at Maya exactly twice before today. The first time, he'd asked her name and immediately forgotten it. The second time, just 2 hours ago, he'd actually looked at her, really looked, and asked how long she'd been working for him. Now those calculating eyes found her across the room, and something in them cracked. She saw it happen, saw the precise moment when Kong Minjun, the man who ran a tech empire by day and controlled half of Seoul's underground by night with ice water in his veins, realized that his waitress had just taken 4 bullets meant for him. He moved with terrifying speed and precision. 3 shots, 3 bodies dropping. The 4th attacker tried to escape through the shattered window, but Minjun was faster, catching him by the tactical vest and snapping his neck with cold efficiency. Then he was running toward Maya, sliding across the blood-slicked marble floor, his hands immediately on her face, in her hair, trying to find where all the blood was coming from. There was too much blood. No, no, stay with me. His voice was breaking, actually breaking, a sound Maya suspected Kong Minjun had never made in his 38 years of life. Stay awake. Stay awake, Maya. He remembered her name. Through the fog of dying, through the darkness closing in from all sides, Maya felt something warm bloom in her chest that had nothing to do with bullet wounds. He'd remembered her name. Are you? She managed to whisper, blood bubbling at the corner of her mouth. Are you okay, sir? Yes. God, yes, because of you. Minjun's hands were shaking as he pressed them against the wounds in her back, trying futilely to stop the bleeding. Stay with me, please. I'm begging you. Stay. She wanted to tell him it was okay, that protecting him was worth it, that she'd known what she was doing when she'd thrown herself over him. But her hand reached up on its own accord, trembling, and touched his face. He was beautiful even through her dying vision. Sharp jaw clenched with desperation. Those impossible dark eyes now bright with something that looked almost like tears. "You remembered my name," she whispered. Then the darkness swallowed her whole. Before we continue with what happened next, if you're already hooked by Maya's sacrifice, smash that like button and drop a comment telling us, would you take a bullet for your boss? Subscribe so you don't miss how this impossible situation unfolds, because what Minjun does next will absolutely shock you. The ambulance screamed through Seoul streets with Maya dying in the back. Minjun had refused to let the paramedics take her alone, climbing into the ambulance with blood, her blood, covering his expensive suit. The paramedics worked frantically, shouting medical terms in rapid Korean that blurred together. Blood pressure dropping. Multiple GSWs. Possible spinal damage. 60% chance she'd die before reaching the hospital. Minjun held her hand the entire ride, his thumb moving unconsciously across her knuckles in small circles. A gesture of tenderness that would have surprised anyone who knew him. At Seoul National University Hospital, the trauma team was waiting. They'd been alerted that Kong Minjun was incoming with a casualty, which meant every resource the hospital possessed was instantly available. Maya was rushed into emergency surgery while Minjun stood in the hallway, his tailored suit ruined with blood, his hands trembling slightly as he ran them through his hair. His right-hand man, David Park, arrived within 15 minutes, slightly out of breath. "Sir, the scene is secured. We've identified 3 of the 4 attackers. Former military hired guns. Someone paid them very well. Find out who." Minjun's voice was completely flat, emotionless in that way that meant he was barely holding himself together. "Find out who ordered this. Find out who gave them the security schedules. Find out who knew I'd be home today. Sir, it's clearly an inside job. Someone in our organization. I know it's inside." Minjun's control finally cracked, his voice rising to a roar that made even David step back. Then, quieter, almost broken. "Someone I trusted tried to kill me. And she." He gestured toward the surgery room doors. "This woman I don't even know. She's dying because she saved me." David studied his boss carefully, noting the way Minjun's hands trembled slightly, the way he kept glancing at the surgery room doors, the way his jaw clenched and unclenched with barely controlled emotion. In 15 years of service, David had never seen Kong Minjun show fear. Not when they'd been ambushed by the Busan clan. Not when a deal had gone catastrophically wrong and cost them millions. Not ever. But right now, standing in this hospital corridor covered in a waitress's blood, the Winter Wolf looked terrified. "Run a full background check on her," Minjun said quietly. "I want to know everything. Where she came from, why she's here, why a Nigerian waitress moves like someone with tactical training." "Sir, you didn't see it. The way she moved, that wasn't panic. That wasn't random. She assessed the threat, calculated the angle, and positioned herself for maximum coverage of my body. That's training, David. Military or something close to it. So find out why a woman with those skills is serving my coffee." David nodded and disappeared to make calls. Minjun finally lowered himself into one of the uncomfortable plastic waiting room chairs. A nurse approached cautiously, suggesting he get cleaned up, maybe let someone look at the cuts on his hands from the broken glass. But Minjun didn't move. He simply sat and waited, his eyes fixed on those surgery doors with an intensity that made the hospital staff nervous. 6 hours crawled by like 6 years. Minjun didn't take calls. He didn't check his phone. He didn't do anything except wait. His entire world narrowed down to those surgery doors and the woman fighting for her life behind them. Employees called. Board members texted. Business partners demanded updates. Minjun ignored them all. For the first time in his adult life, the empire he'd built didn't matter. Only she mattered. When the surgeon finally emerged at 8:47 p.m., Minjun was on his feet before the man finished pushing through the doors. Well, the surgeon, Dr. Park Jinwoo, was in his 50s with kind eyes that had seen too much death. She's alive. Barely. 2 bullets we removed from her back. 1 from her shoulder. The 4th grazed her skull but didn't penetrate. She's incredibly lucky, Mr. Kong. 2 centimeters to the left and… Will she survive? Minjun cut him off. He didn't need the details of how close she'd come. He needed to know if she'd live. The next 72 hours are critical. She lost a tremendous amount of blood. There's possible nerve damage in her back. She might not walk again. We won't know until the swelling goes down. But yes, I believe she'll survive. The breath Minjun released felt like the first real breath he'd taken in 6 hours. His knees actually weakened slightly, and he had to lock them to stay upright. I want her in a private suite, Minjun said. The best room you have. 24-hour nursing care. Whatever she needs, whatever it costs, it's done. She's… He paused, then said with absolute certainty, she's family. Dr. Park nodded, though his eyebrows rose slightly at that last statement. Everyone in Seoul knew Kong Minjun didn't have family. He'd built his empire alone, trusted no one, kept everyone at arm's length, but he was wise enough not to question it. They let Minjun see her once she was settled in recovery. She looked so small in that hospital bed, wrapped in bandages, connected to machines that beeped and hissed. Her dark skin had taken on an ashen undertone from blood loss. Her braids were matted with dried blood. But she was breathing, and that was everything. Minjun approached the bed slowly, as if sudden movement might shatter this fragile reality where she was still alive. He found himself reaching for her hand without conscious thought, his fingers wrapping gently around hers. Her fingers were cool, her palms smaller than his, calloused from hard work, waitress's hands, but hands that had saved his life. He stood there for what felt like hours, just watching her breathe, counting each rise and fall of her chest like it was precious. And it was. Each breath was a miracle. David entered quietly, carrying a tablet. The background check you requested, sir. Minjun took the tablet but didn't look at it yet. His eyes remained fixed on Maya's face. Tell me. Her full name is Maya Chen, 28 years old, born in Lagos, Nigeria. Father was Chief Emmanuel Chun. Minjun's eyes narrowed. That name sounds familiar. It should be, sir. He was a facilitator. Ran interference between Nigerian cartels and Asian smuggling routes 5 years ago. We used him twice for shipments through West Africa. Minjun's mind was racing, pieces clicking into place. What happened to him? Murdered 2 years ago. Cartel hit. Very professional, very brutal. They killed him in front of his family as a message to anyone else who might consider switching allegiances. Maya witnessed it. David paused meaningfully. She gave testimony to authorities, then disappeared when the cartel sent people to silence her. Minjun's jaw tightened. So she understood his world after all. She'd lived in it, suffered in it, lost family to it. That explained the tactical instincts, the split-second decision-making, the courage. She'd been trained by necessity, hardened by tragedy. What else? She has a younger sister, Amina, 16, still in Lagos with extended family. Maya sends money home every month, almost her entire salary. She has a nursing degree from University of Lagos but couldn't find work after her father's death. Too dangerous, too marked. She came to Seoul 8 months ago through a domestic worker agency. Clean record. Excellent references from the 2 families she worked for before yours. Self-defense training? Her father made her take classes starting at age 15. Krav Maga, some boxing, situational awareness training. He knew the life he lived put his family at risk. He tried to prepare her. Minjun absorbed this information, his eyes never leaving Maya's unconscious face. A cartel princess who'd lost everything. A trained survivor hiding as a waitress. A woman who understood violence and sacrifice because she'd been forged in the same fire that had forged him. She's not just brave, he said quietly. She's one of us. She's always been one of us. David shifted uncomfortably. Sir, what are you thinking? Minjun looked at Maya's unconscious face for a long moment. In the harsh hospital lighting, even battered and bandaged, she was beautiful. Strong cheekbones, full lips, the kind of face that would haunt a man's dreams. But it wasn't her beauty that had him reconsidering everything he thought he knew about himself. It was her courage, her sacrifice, the fact that she'd thrown herself in front of bullets without hesitation. For a man who barely knew her name. "She took 4 bullets for me," Minjun said quietly. "In our world, David, that's a debt that transcends money. That transcends employment. That's blood debt." "Yes, sir. But she's a witness now. Whoever ordered the hit knows she survived. They'll come for her the moment she's vulnerable. She will be vulnerable." Minjun's hand tightened around hers. "She has no protection, no family here, no resources. She's alone. We can provide security, sir. Keep her safe until—" "It's not enough." Minjun's mind was racing through scenarios, calculating angles, seeing the board the way he always did when making crucial business decisions. And there was only one move that made sense. Only one way to make her truly untouchable in his world. "She needs to be family," he said. "Real family. Not just protected, elevated." David's eyes widened as he realized what his boss was suggesting. "Sir, you can't be serious. Call my lawyer. Now, I need emergency marriage documents prepared." David stared at his boss as if Minjun had lost his mind. "Sir, with all respect, you can't marry an unconscious woman." "Can't I?" Minjun's voice was cold, absolute. "I can do whatever I want, David. That's what power means. And right now, I want her protected in a way that no one in Seoul would dare challenge. The moment she becomes Mrs. Kong, she becomes untouchable. No one moves against my wife without declaring war on everything I've built. The board will never accept this. Your investors, they'll say you've lost your mind, that you're making emotional decisions. The board will accept whatever I tell them to accept." Minjun stood, his full height and presence suddenly filling the small hospital room with authority that made even loyal David take a step back. "She saved my life. That makes her worthy of anything I choose to give her. Anyone who disagrees can say it to my face." The threat was clear. David had seen Minjun issue those quiet challenges before. They usually ended with careers destroyed or worse. He nodded slowly. "I'll call Attorney Lee. But sir, even if we prepare the documents, she can't consent. She's unconscious. Then we use her thumbprint. It's legal in emergency circumstances, especially with witnesses present." Minjun glanced around the hospital room. "Dr. Park will witness. You'll witness. That's more than enough. Sir, when she wakes up, I'll explain." Minjun turned back to Maya, something softening in his expression that David had never seen before. "She's smart. She'll understand the strategic value. And if she doesn't—" He paused. "Then I'll convince her. But one way or another, David, when she opens her eyes, she'll be my wife. She'll have my name, my protection, my resources. No one will ever hurt her again." The way he said it, the possessiveness in his tone, made David realize this wasn't entirely about strategy. Something had shifted in Kong Minjun during those 6 hours of surgery. Something fundamental. The Winter Wolf had found something worth protecting beyond his empire. Attorney Lee Sang-woo arrived at 4:30 a.m. looking disheveled and confused but carrying the necessary documents. Minjun had used him for 15 years, and Lee knew better than to question his most powerful client's decisions, no matter how bizarre they seemed. "Everything is in order, Mr. Kong. I've prepared both Korean and international marriage certificates. All we need are signatures and witnesses." A judge was summoned next, Judge Kim Tae-hyun, someone who owed Minjun several significant favors. He arrived at 5 a.m., performed the briefest ceremony in Seoul's history, and signed the documents with hands that shook slightly. The absurdity of marrying an unconscious woman clearly bothered him, but not enough to refuse Kong Minjun. Dr. Park served as a witness, as did David. The ceremony itself was surreal. Minjun stood beside the hospital bed in a fresh black suit, having refused to do this in anything less than formal attire. If he was going to marry someone, even under these circumstances, he would do it properly. He held Maya's left hand gently, sliding a platinum band onto her finger. It was simple, elegant, expensive, purchased from the hospital gift shop's surprisingly upscale jewelry selection at 4:45 a.m. It wasn't the ring he would have chosen given time, but it would do until he could give her something worthy of what she'd done for him. Judge Kim recited the vows in Korean. Minjun answered them, his voice steady and clear, speaking each word like an oath. When it came time for Maya's responses, the judge pressed her thumb to an ink pad, then to the signature line on the certificate. It was legal, binding, irreversible. By the power vested in me by the Republic of Korea, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The words hung in the air of the hospital room, witnessed by machines that beeped steadily and people who would never speak of this strange ceremony. Minjun looked at his new wife. This woman he barely knew, this stranger who'd become the most important person in his world in the span of 30 seconds of violence. He leaned down slowly, aware that everyone was watching, aware that this moment would define how seriously people took this marriage. His lips brushed her forehead gently, a kiss that was both tender and a promise. "You're safe now," he whispered against her skin, so quietly that only she could have heard if she'd been conscious. "I swear on everything I am. You're safe now." David cleared his throat. "Sir, I'll file these with the government registrar as soon as offices open. The marriage will be official and public record by noon." "Good." Minjun straightened, his hand still holding Maya's. "And David? Increase security around this room. Triple shifts. No one gets in without my explicit approval. If whoever ordered the hit learns she survived, they might try again." "Already arranged, sir. I have 6 of our best men stationed in the hallway and monitoring all access points to this floor." "Make it 8. Minjun's voice was steel. "And run background checks on every hospital staff member who has access to this room. Every nurse, every janitor, every doctor. I want to know if any of them have connections to our organization or our rivals." David nodded and left to make the arrangements. Dr. Park cleared his throat. "Mr. Kong, you should rest. You've been awake for over 24 hours. Your wife is stable now. We'll call you immediately if anything changes." "I'm not leaving." Minjun sat back down in the chair beside Maya's bed, his hand never releasing hers. "I'll rest here." The doctor knew better than to argue. He simply nodded and left Minjun alone with his new bride. Over the next 2 days, Minjun barely left Maya's side. He conducted business from her hospital room, took calls with her unconscious form in his peripheral vision, and slept in the chair beside her bed for a few hours each night. His back ached. His body was exhausted, but he refused to leave. Word spread quickly through Seoul's underground. The Winter Wolf had married his waitress, a Nigerian woman no one had ever heard of. The speculation was intense. Some said she must be a princess from an African cartel family. Others claimed it was a political alliance. A few whispered the truth about the assassination attempt and her heroic sacrifice, though most dismissed that as too bizarre to be real. Business associates called, demanding to know what was happening. Board members expressed concern about Minjun's impulsive decision. Rivals saw opportunity in what they perceived as weakness. The great Kong Minjun, brought low by emotion. Minjun ignored them all. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them see it as weakness. They would learn soon enough that protecting what was his made him more dangerous, not less. Mrs. Kim, his housekeeper, came by with fresh clothes and food, her eyes widening when she saw the marriage certificate that David had already filed with the government. "Mr. Kong," she said carefully in Korean, "is this real, or is this for show?" Minjun looked at the elderly woman who'd worked for him for 5 years, one of the few people he trusted. "It's real, Mrs. Kim, as real as anything I've ever done. But you don't know her. You've spoken to her maybe 3 times in 8 months. I know enough." His eyes moved to Maya. "I know she's brave. I know she's loyal. I know she understands sacrifice." He paused. "I know she was willing to die for me, even though I never gave her a reason to. What else do I need to know?" Mrs. Kim studied him shrewdly. "You're falling for her already, aren't you? Even unconscious. Even a stranger." Minjun didn't answer, but his silence was answer enough. Mrs. Kim's expression softened. Your mother would have approved. She always said you needed someone with a warrior's heart. Someone who understood the cost of loyalty. Minjun's mother had died when he was 15, killed in a car accident that he'd later learned was no accident at all. It was his first lesson in the brutal reality of the world he'd inherited. The memory still ached, even after all these years. My mother would have liked her, he said quietly. On the third day, Maya's vital signs began to improve. Dr. Park was cautiously optimistic. She's fighting. She's a fighter, Mr. Kong. I've rarely seen someone with this much will to live. She survived worse than this, Minjun said, thinking of her father's murder, of her flight from Nigeria, of 8 months of invisible servitude in a foreign country while sending every penny home to keep her sister safe. She's not the type to give up easily. That evening, as the sun set over Seoul and painted the hospital room in shades of orange and gold, Maya's fingers twitched. Minjun, who'd been reviewing security reports, noticed immediately. He set down the tablet and took her hand. Maya, can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered. Machines beeped faster as her heart rate increased. Dr. Park was called, arriving with a team of nurses. They checked her vitals, shined lights in her eyes, asked questions she couldn't yet answer. But she was waking up. After 72 hours of uncertainty, she was finally waking up. Minjun needed to handle this moment alone. Needed to be the one to explain to Maya what had happened, what he'd done, why she was waking up as someone completely different than who she'd been when she fell asleep. He asked the medical staff to give them privacy. They hesitated. Standard protocol was to monitor patients closely during emergence from unconsciousness. But one look at Minjun's face and they complied. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then gradually sharpening. She blinked against the lights, her face contracting in confusion and pain. Her lips moved, forming words that came out as barely a whisper. Where? You're in Seoul National University Hospital, Minjun said gently, leaning close so she could see him clearly. It was his first lesson in the brutal reality of the world he'd inherited. The memory still ached, even after all these years. My mother would have liked her, he said quietly. On the third day, Maya's vital signs began to improve. Dr. Park was cautiously optimistic. She's fighting. She's a fighter, Mr. Kong. I've rarely seen someone with this much will to live. She survived worse than this, Minjun said, thinking of her father's murder, of her flight from Nigeria, of 8 months of invisible servitude in a foreign country while sending every penny home to keep her sister safe. She's not the type to give up easily. That evening, as the sun set over Seoul and painted the hospital room in shades of orange and gold, Maya's fingers twitched. Minjun, who'd been reviewing security reports, noticed immediately. He set down the tablet and took her hand. Maya, can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered. Machines beeped faster as her heart rate increased. Dr. Park was called, arriving with a team of nurses. They checked her vitals, shined lights in her eyes, asked questions she couldn't yet answer. But she was waking up. After 72 hours of uncertainty, she was finally waking up. Minjun needed to handle this moment alone. Needed to be the one to explain to Maya what had happened, what he'd done, why she was waking up as someone completely different than who she'd been when she fell asleep. He asked the medical staff to give them privacy. They hesitated. Standard protocol was to monitor patients closely during emergence from unconsciousness. But one look at Minjun's face and they complied. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then gradually sharpening. She blinked against the lights, her face contracting in confusion and pain. Her lips moved, forming words that came out as barely a whisper. Where? You're in Seoul National University Hospital, Minjun said gently, leaning close so she could see him clearly. Minjun reached for her left hand, lifted it so she could see the platinum ring on her finger. So I did something. Something you might not understand at first, but I need you to listen to the logic before you react. Maya stared at the ring, confusion morphing into shock. Her breathing quickened, the monitors registering her rising heart rate. What is this? You're my wife, Maya. We were married 3 days ago, while you were unconscious. The machines monitoring her vitals started beeping frantically as her heart rate spiked. A nurse poked her head in, concerned, but Minjun waved her away with a sharp gesture. You what? Maya tried to sit up again. Pain be damned. Her eyes blazing with a mixture of disbelief and fury. You married me while I was unconscious? What kind of? The kind that keeps you alive. His voice was hard, unyielding. In my world, Maya, family is sacred. Family is untouchable. The moment you became Mrs. Kong, you became protected by every resource, every connection, every threat that comes with that name. No one in Seoul will touch you now without declaring war on everything I've built. I didn't consent to this. She was breathing hard now, panic and anger warring in her expression. This is insane. You can't just marry someone without their permission. This isn't the Middle Ages. I can, and I did. Minjun's jaw was set, his eyes intense. You took 4 bullets for me. That creates a debt in my world that can't be repaid with money or gratitude. It requires elevation, integration. He leaned closer. You shed blood for me, which makes you mine to protect. So you're Mrs. Kong now, my wife. And anyone who wants to hurt you will have to go through me first. Maya's breath was coming in short gasps, her mind racing. So this is about honor? About some archaic code? I don't want to be Mrs. Kong. I want to go home. I want home. Minjun's voice cut through her protests like ice. Home to Lagos, where the Azak cartel is still looking for Chief Chen's daughter. Home to a nursing degree you can't use because you're marked. Home to sending your entire salary to keep your sister alive, while you serve coffee to people who don't even see you. He leaned closer, his intensity pinning her in place. That home, Maya? Because that home doesn't exist anymore. It died the same night your father did. Maya's breath caught. How do you know about my father? About Amina? About any of it? The realization hit her hard. You investigated me. Of course I did. I needed to understand why you moved like a trained soldier. Why you didn't hesitate. Why you knew exactly how to position your body for maximum coverage. His expression softened slightly. I know what you've survived. I know what you've lost. I know you understand my world because you've lived in one just like it. Tears threatened at the corners of Maya's eyes. Hearing someone speak her truth, acknowledge her past, her pain, her father's death, broke something open inside her. For 8 months, she'd been invisible. Her history erased. Her identity reduced to the help. So you know I'm right? Minjun continued, his voice gentler now. You know that without my protection, you're dead within a week of leaving this hospital. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to rage against the truth of his words, but she couldn't. She'd seen how cartel politics worked. She'd watched her father play the game until it killed him. She'd run halfway across the world and still wasn't safe. Minjun was right. She was a witness to an attempted assassination by someone powerful enough to organize a military-grade hit. The moment she was alone, she was a target. So what am I now? She asked, her voice breaking. Your prisoner? Your obligation. You're my wife. The way he said it, with absolute certainty, made something flutter in her chest that she absolutely did not want to acknowledge. And yes, you're my obligation. But you're also under my protection now. No one touches you. No one threatens you. No one even looks at you wrong without answering to me. He stood, pacing to the window, his silhouette dark against the Seoul skyline. More than that, you're my partner in this. You have insights I don't. You see patterns I miss because you're not blinded by familiarity. You understand both worlds, the one I operate in and the one most people see. That makes you invaluable. Tears suddenly burned in Maya's eyes. This isn't fair. You're trapping me. Minjun turned back to face her, and for the first time, she saw something raw in his expression. I'm saving you, but I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you feel trapped. So I'm giving you a choice right now, Maya. He walked back to her bedside, his eyes locked on hers. You can fight this. You can be angry. You can try to run the moment you're healed. Or you can accept that your life changed the moment you threw yourself in front of those bullets. You can accept the protection, the resources, and yes, the complications that come with being Mrs. Kong. He sat down, leaning forward so their faces were close. You can use this position to build something better than serving coffee and sending money home to a sister who deserves more than just survival. You can bring Amina here, get her into a good school, keep her safe. You can have access to resources your father only dreamed of. Maya stared at him. This beautiful, terrifying man who just upended her entire existence. And what do you get out of this? She asked. Besides a convenient solution to your protection problem? Something flickered in Minjun's eyes. Something that looked almost like vulnerability before he locked it away. I get the knowledge that the woman who saved my life is safe. That's enough. The words hung between them. Maya could hear what he wasn't saying. Could see in his eyes that there was more to this than strategy, more than obligation. Before she could respond, a sharp knock on the door interrupted them. David entered, his expression urgent. Sir, we have a situation. The security footage from the attack. Our tech team found something. Minjun stood immediately, his expression shifting from almost vulnerable to completely focused. Show me. David pulled out a tablet, bringing up grainy security footage. We've been analyzing frame by frame. Look here, 3 seconds before the windows explode. He pointed to a figure in the background. One of Minjun's own security guards making brief eye contact with someone across the street. The gesture was subtle, almost invisible, but unmistakable once you knew to look for it. That's Sergeant Lee, Minjun said, his voice cold. 8 years with us. Trusted. His daughter is getting married next month. His daughter was kidnapped 2 days before the attack, David said grimly. Held for exactly 48 hours, then released unharmed after the assault. The timing is too precise to be coincidence. Maya listened intently, her pain momentarily forgotten. Her father had taught her to read situations like this, to see the chessboard beneath the chaos. So someone knew which of your people had vulnerable family members. That's not outside intelligence. That's intimate knowledge. Both men turned to look at her. Minjun's eyes gleamed with something like approval. Exactly. Someone at a high level. Someone who knows our people, our protocols, our weaknesses. How many people have that kind of access? Maya asked. Maybe 20, David said. The inner circle. People Minjun has known for years. Then we need to look at who benefits, Maya said, her nursing training kicking in. Diagnosed by symptoms, trace back to the source. Who gains if Minjun dies? Who's been positioning themselves for more power? Who's made moves that seemed odd in hindsight? Minjun looked at her with undisguised admiration. You really are your father's daughter. My father taught me to survive by thinking 3 moves ahead. Maya's voice was steady despite the pain medication making her thoughts slightly fuzzy. He said in your world, the person who seems most loyal is often the one planning betrayal. Because they have the access to do real damage. We have 3 primary suspects, David said, pulling up photos on the tablet. First, Elder Shin Dongwu. He's been with the organization for 30 years, but he's never forgiven Minjun for taking leadership when he felt it should have been his. Second, Choi Jin-ho, head of our southern operations. He's been pushing for expansion into territories that Minjun has refused to touch. Human trafficking, hard drugs. Eliminating Minjun would remove that obstacle. Third, Chairman Park Jae-sung. He controls the port operations. His daughter, Park Mi-sun, has been interested in Minjun for years. Marriage alliance has been proposed multiple times. Maya watched Minjun's face carefully as Mi-sun was mentioned. She saw the brief tightening around his eyes, the almost imperceptible clench of his jaw. There was history there. Mi-sun, Maya said quietly. Tell me about her. Minjun met her eyes. My father and her father arranged a marriage between us when we were teenagers. I refused when I took over. I won't be controlled by arrangements I didn't make. But she still wants it, Maya guessed. She wants the alliance. Whether she wants me personally. He shrugged. I've never been sure. And now you've married someone else, Maya said. A nobody, a waitress, a foreigner. That's a massive insult to her and her family, which makes them even more dangerous, David added. If they were behind the attack, and it failed, and now Minjun has made you untouchable by marrying you, they'll be desperate, Maya finished. Desperate people make mistakes. Minjun looked at her with something that might have been pride, might have been something more complicated. What are you thinking? Maya's mind was working through possibilities, consequences, strategies. We need them to reveal themselves. We need to create a situation where they have to act, where they can't hide behind plausible deniability anymore. That's dangerous, David warned. That puts you directly in the line of fire. I'm already in the line of fire, Maya pointed out. At least this way, I'm not just waiting to be shot at again. Minjun studied her for a long moment. What do you have in mind? We throw a party, Maya said, the idea crystallizing even as she spoke. A celebration of our marriage. Invite everyone, the entire inner circle, all the families, everyone who might have had a hand in this. Make it public. Make it grand. Make it impossible to refuse. Use ourselves as bait, Minjun said slowly. Use me as bait, Maya corrected. I'm the new variable. I'm the one who doesn't fit. I'm the one who threatens their plans. So we make me visible. We make me seem vulnerable. And we watch who moves against me. Absolutely not, Minjun said immediately. I won't use you as bait. You already did when you married me, Maya shot back. The moment you made me Mrs. Kong, you painted a target on my back. So we might as well use it strategically. She tried to sit up straighter, wincing at the pain. My father taught me that the only way to survive being hunted is to become the hunter. So that's what we do. We stop reacting and start controlling the board. Minjun looked at David. Leave us. David nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Minjun sat back down beside Maya's bed, his expression intense. Do you understand what you're suggesting? These people play for keeps. If you make yourself a target, if you push them to act, they won't show mercy because you're injured or because you're new to this world. I know, Maya said quietly. I watched my father play this game for 20 years. I watched him make alliances and enemies. I watched him navigate between cartels and governments and somehow keep our family safe for most of my life. Her voice broke slightly. And I watched him die when he finally made a mistake. Then you know the cost. I know the cost of doing nothing is worse. Maya met his eyes. They already tried to kill you once. They'll try again. And next time they'll be ready for resistance. They'll be more careful, more thorough. The only advantage we have right now is that they don't know what I am. They don't know I'm not just some random waitress who got lucky. What are you? Minjun asked softly. I'm Chief Chen's daughter. Maya's voice was steady now. I'm someone who understands your world because I was born into one just like it. I'm someone who spent 8 months watching and learning and being invisible while everyone underestimated me. And I'm someone who's really, really tired of being afraid. Something shifted in Minjun's expression. Respect, yes, but also something warmer. You're remarkable.
I'm pragmatic, Maya corrected.
And I'm stuck in this situation whether I like it or not. So I might as well play to win. Minjun reached out, his hand covering hers on the hospital blanket. If we do this, we do it together. You don't move without security. You don't take unnecessary risks. And you listen to me when I tell you something is too dangerous. And you listen to me when I see something you're missing, Maya countered. A slight smile touched his lips. Deal. Over the next week, Maya recovered under 24-hour guard in the hospital's most secure suite. Minjun visited twice a day, sometimes more, bringing work with him and conducting business from the chair beside her bed. They discussed strategy, mapped out the inner circle, analyzed years of business dealings for patterns that might reveal a traitor. Mrs. Kim came daily with homemade Korean food that was infinitely better than hospital meals. She helped Maya with physical therapy, taught her more Korean phrases, and treated her with a warmth that made Maya's throat tight with unexpected emotion. You're good for him, Mrs. Kim said one afternoon, while helping Maya walk the hallway with a physical therapist. I've worked for Mr. Kong for 5 years. This is the first time I've seen him care about something more than business. He cares about his business plenty, Maya said, gritting her teeth against the pain in her back as she took another step. He cares about it differently now, Mrs. Kim insisted. Before, it was everything. Now it's a tool to protect you. That's different. Maya didn't know what to say to that. The complexity of her feelings toward Minjun was something she was still trying to understand. He'd trapped her, yes, but he'd also saved her. He'd married her without consent, but he'd done it to protect her. He was dangerous, but he was also surprisingly gentle with her. And increasingly, when he looked at her, she felt something stir in her chest that had nothing to do with gratitude or fear. On the 8th day, Dr. Park cleared her for discharge. You'll need ongoing physical therapy for at least 3 months. The nerve damage is healing, but slowly. You may never regain full mobility in your left shoulder. But Maya, you're incredibly lucky to be alive. I know, she said quietly. The drive to Minjun's penthouse was surreal. Maya sat in the back of an armored sedan, Minjun beside her, security vehicles flanking them front and back. She was looking at Seoul through bulletproof glass, watching the city pass by like she was viewing it from another dimension. Everything looked different now. She was different now. The penthouse looked different too when she arrived as Mrs. Kong instead of as the help. The staff lined up to greet her formally, bowing deeply, addressing her as Madame in Korean. I should have seen it 8 months ago. The way he looked at her made her heart skip in a way she absolutely did not want to acknowledge. This was a business arrangement, protection strategy, nothing more. She could not afford to see it as anything else. We need to talk about the party, she said, deliberately shifting to safer ground. When and where, who to invite, how to make it impossible to refuse. Minjun studied her for a moment, and she wondered if he could see through her deflection. But he allowed it, following her lead back to strategy. 3 weeks from now, he said. That gives you time to heal more, gives us time to prepare. We'll hold it here at the penthouse. Make it intimate, exclusive. A private celebration for only the inner circle. That puts us on our home territory, Maya said, thinking it through. We control the environment, the security, the cameras. Exactly. And it sends a message. I'm not hiding my new wife. I'm not ashamed of who I married. I'm proud of her, and I expect everyone to respect her. Some of them won't, Maya said quietly. Especially Mi-sun. Mi-sun will be invited, Minjun said, along with her father. If they're behind the attack, they can't refuse without raising suspicion. And if they're not, we need to see their genuine reactions to you. And if they are behind it, if they're the ones who tried to kill you, Minjun's expression went cold, dangerous. Then they'll learn that attacking what's mine comes with consequences they can't imagine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in her stomach. Maya stood abruptly, needing distance. I should rest. The pain medication makes me tired. Minjun stood too. Of course, if you need anything during the night, I'm just down the hall. Don't hesitate. As Maya lay in the enormous bed that night, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling, she thought about everything that had changed. A week ago, she'd been a waitress. Now she was the wife of one of Seoul's most powerful men. A week ago, she'd been invisible. Now she was the center of attention, speculation, and potentially deadly schemes. And Minjun, she didn't know what to make of him. He was dangerous, yes. He trapped her, yes. But he was also protecting her, trusting her, looking at her like she mattered in ways that made her chest ache. She touched the ring on her finger, this symbol of a marriage she hadn't chosen. But maybe, just maybe, she was starting to choose it now. If you're hooked on this incredible story of sacrifice, protection, and unexpected love, you need to check out Novatails TV. They create the most amazing, binge-worthy stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Seriously, their channel is pure gold. Every story is crafted with incredible detail and emotional depth. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to Novatails TV right now. You won't regret it. Trust me, once you start watching their content, you'll be addicted. Now, welcome back to Maya and Minjun's story. Because the party is about to change everything, the next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation, physical therapy, and strategy sessions. Maya threw herself into planning the party with an intensity that surprised even Mrs. Kim. She insisted on being involved in every detail, the menu, the decorations, the guest list, the seating arrangements. But she was also investigating. During fittings and flower arrangements, she was observing staff, tracking movements, noting who had access to which parts of the penthouse. She befriended the younger staff members, the ones who'd initially resented her, and learned through careful questions which of them had been approached by outsiders, offered money for information, pressured for details about the household. 2 names came up repeatedly: Young Soo-min and Lee Hae-won, both maids who'd quit suddenly after the attack, both who'd been seen meeting with someone matching Mi-sun's description in the weeks before, both who'd known the exact schedule of when Minjun would be home. Maya brought this information to Minjun late one night in his study, where she'd started joining him for his evening work. He'd begun teaching her about the business, the legitimate operations and the less legitimate ones, treating her like the partner he'd promised she'd be. "We need to find these women," Maya said, sliding her notes across his desk. "Get them to talk before whoever hired them silences them too." Already on it, David entered the study carrying a tablet. "We found one of them, Young Soo-min. She's in Busan working at a hotel. Looks like she came into money recently. Paid off her mother's debts, bought a new apartment. Far more than she could have saved on a maid's salary." "So she was paid off," Minjun said, studying the surveillance photos. "The second one, Lee Hae-won, died. Found in the Han River 3 days ago. Ruled a suicide, but the coroner noted defensive wounds that suggest otherwise. They're eliminating loose ends," Maya said, her stomach turning. "Another woman dead. Another life snuffed out to cover tracks." "Then we need to get to Young Soo-min before they do," Minjun said decisively. "David, send a team to Busan. Bring her in. Quietly." "I should go," Maya said. Both men looked at her. "She won't talk to your men," Maya explained. "They'll terrify her, and she'll shut down or run. But me? I'm just another maid who got lucky. She'll see me as safe. She'll talk." "Absolutely not," Minjun said flatly. "You're not going anywhere near this. It's too dangerous." "I thought I was your partner," Maya challenged. "You are my partner, which is why I won't risk you unnecessarily." They stared at each other across the desk, neither willing to back down. Finally, Maya sighed. "Fine. But I want to be on the call when David's team interviews her. I'll know if she's lying." Minjun considered this, then nodded. "Agreed." 2 days later, David's team brought Young Soo-min back to Seoul. She was terrified, refusing to speak despite David's careful questioning. Finally, they set up a video call with Maya. The young woman's eyes widened when she saw Maya on screen. "Uni, you're alive. They said you died in the attack." "Who said that?" Maya asked gently in her improving Korean. Soo-min's eyes darted nervously. I can't. They'll kill me like they killed Hae-won. I know she didn't jump. She was too afraid of water to ever go near the river." "Soo-min, listen to me." Maya leaned closer to the camera. "I know you're scared. I know they've threatened you. But the only way you survive this is to tell the truth. Who paid you to give them Minjun's schedule?" Tears streamed down Soo-min's face. "I didn't know they were going to kill anyone. I swear." She said she just wanted to surprise him, to know when he'd be home alone so she could visit. "She said it was romantic." "Who said that?" Maya pressed gently. "Park Mi-sun," Soo-min whispered. "She met me at a cafe. Gave me 2 million won just to tell her when Mr. Kong would be home without guards. She said she wanted to see him, that it was for his birthday, that it was a secret surprise. I didn't know. I didn't know people would die." Minjun and David were both in the room with Maya now, watching the screen intently. "Did she ask about anyone else in the penthouse?" Maya asked. "Did she ask about me?" Soo-min's eyes widened with guilt. She asked if Mr. Kong was seeing anyone. I told her about you, about how you took care of the penthouse, how hardworking you were. But I didn't tell her anything bad. I swear. Did she ask when I would be there? Sumin nodded miserably. She asked what your schedule was, what rooms you cleaned and when. I thought she just wanted to avoid you, so she could have time alone with Mr. Kong. I didn't think. She broke off, sobbing. Maya felt cold. Mi-sun hadn't just planned to kill Minjun. She'd planned to make sure Maya was there too. Maybe even planned to frame her somehow, make it look like the Nigerian waitress had betrayed her employer. Thank you, Sumin, Maya said gently. You're going to be protected now. No one will hurt you. After the call ended, Maya turned to Minjun. His expression was carved from ice. Mi-sun, he said quietly. All this time, someone I've known since childhood. Someone obsessed with you, David corrected. There's a difference between love and possession, sir. Mi-sun wants what she can't have, and she's willing to kill for it. We have testimony from a maid who's now under our protection, Maya said, thinking through the implications. But it's not enough. Mi-sun will claim Sumin is lying, that we coerced her. We need more proof. The party, Minjun said slowly. We push her. Make her reveal herself. How? David asked. Maya stood, pacing the study as her mind raced. We make her jealous. We make her angry. We push every button she has until she can't maintain control. She turned to face both men. We make our marriage look real. Not just a protection arrangement. Not just strategy. We make it look like genuine love. Like passion. Like I'm not just the waitress who got lucky. I'm the woman who captured the heart of the man she's wanted for years. Minjun's eyes darkened as he looked at her. That's playing with fire. Good, Maya said. Let it burn. The night of the party arrived. Maya stood in front of the full-length mirror in the master bedroom, barely recognizing herself. The dress was a masterpiece. Deep emerald silk that hugged every curve before flowing to the floor. It was modest by Western standards but daring for a Korean formal event. The back dipped low, revealing smooth skin between her shoulder blades, drawing attention to her grace and confidence. Her braids had been styled in an elegant updo that incorporated traditional Korean ornamental pins, a fusion of her Nigerian heritage and her new Korean identity. Diamond earrings sparkled at her ears, a gift from Minjun that had arrived that morning with a simple note. You'll outshine everyone tonight. A knock on the door made her turn. Minjun entered, and he stopped dead at the sight of her. He was devastating in a black tuxedo, tailored perfectly to his frame. His hair was styled back, revealing the sharp lines of his face. But it was his eyes that made Maya's breath catch. The way he looked at her, like she was the only person in the world, like she was precious and dangerous and utterly captivating. You're breathtaking, he said quietly, moving closer. Every person down there is going to understand exactly why I married you. That's the point, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. We need to sell this. What if I'm not selling? Minjun stepped closer, his hand reaching up to touch her face gently. What if I mean every word I'm about to say tonight? Maya's heart was pounding. Minjun, I know we started this wrong. I know I trapped you. But Maya, these past 3 weeks, working with you, talking to you, watching you heal and plan and be brilliant. He broke off, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. I'm not pretending anymore. We can't, Maya whispered. This is already complicated enough. Then let's make it more complicated. He leaned down, his lips hovering just above hers. Let's make it real. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable. Gentle at first, questioning, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, when she instead pressed closer and opened to him, he deepened the kiss with a hunger that made her knees weak. His hand tangled in her carefully styled hair, careful not to disturb the pins. His other hand pressed against the small of her back, pulling her against him. Maya's hands fisted in his tuxedo jacket, holding on as the world tilted. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this intensity, this desperate need, this feeling of falling and being caught simultaneously. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minjun rested his forehead against hers. Still want to tell me this is pretend? He asked, his voice rough. Maya couldn't form words. Her entire body was singing, nerve endings alight with sensation. Another knock interrupted them. Sir. David's voice came through the door. Guests are arriving. Minjun stepped back reluctantly, his hand trailing down her arm to capture her fingers. Ready? No, Maya admitted. But let's do this anyway. They descended the stairs together, and Maya felt every eye turn toward them. The penthouse had been transformed into an elegant celebration space. Soft lighting, orchids and roses everywhere. A string quartet playing in the corner. It was beautiful and intimate and slightly ominous. Because everyone in this room was a potential enemy. Elder Shin Dongwu arrived first, his cold eyes assessing Maya with barely concealed disdain. Mrs. Kong, how unexpected you look this evening. Thank you, Elder Shin, Maya replied in Korean, her accent deliberately perfect. How kind of you to attend our celebration. The surprise on his face at her fluent Korean was worth the hours she'd spent practicing with Mrs. Kim. Others arrived in a steady stream. Business associates with calculating eyes. Lieutenants with their carefully dressed wives who looked at Maya with varying degrees of curiosity and resentment. Everyone maintaining the polite fiction of celebration while assessing, judging, planning. And then Park Mi-sun arrived. She was stunning in a blood-red dress that matched her lipstick, her porcelain skin flawless, her features classically beautiful. She looked like everything Maya wasn't: traditional, connected, Korean in every way that mattered to this world. Her eyes found Maya immediately, and the hatred in them was like a physical force. Mi-sun, Minjun said smoothly, his arm tightening around Maya's waist. Thank you for coming. I wouldn't miss it, Mi-sun said, her voice sugar-sweet. I had to see for myself. The great Kong Minjun, brought low by a waitress. Careful. Minjun's voice went cold. You're speaking about my wife. Your wife. Mi-sun laughed, but it was sharp, brittle. How romantic. Marrying the help while she was unconscious. Quite the modern fairy tale. I married her because she's extraordinary, Minjun said, and Maya could hear the steel beneath his polite tone. Because she's brave and loyal and worth 10 of anyone else in this room. Including you. Mi-sun's composure cracked for just a second. Long enough for Maya to see the rage beneath. Come, Minjun said to Maya, deliberately turning his back on Mi-sun. Let me introduce you to some people who actually matter. As they moved through the party, Minjun kept Maya close, his hand never leaving her waist or her hand. To anyone watching, they looked like newlyweds genuinely in love. The way he would lean down to whisper in her ear, the way she would laugh at his comments, the way their eyes would catch and hold for moments too long. And none of it felt like acting. Dinner was served at an elegant long table, the seating carefully arranged. Maya found herself between Minjun and Elder Shin, with Mi-sun directly across from her. The positioning was deliberate. Make Mi-sun watch their intimacy, push her to react. Tell us, Mrs. Kong, Mi-sun said as appetizers were served. How does a Nigerian waitress come to marry one of Seoul's most powerful men? It seems like quite the leap. How does any woman win a man's heart? Maya replied smoothly. By being herself and hoping that's enough. Herself. Mi-sun's smile was poisonous. And what exactly is that? A maid who happened to be in the right place at the right time? Or someone who calculated exactly how to trap a man through manufactured heroism? The table went quiet. Everyone watching. Manufactured. Maya's voice remained calm, but her eyes blazed. I took 4 bullets. Would you like to see the scars? Or perhaps you'd like to explain to everyone here what you were doing meeting with my predecessor, Young Sumin, at a cafe 3 weeks before the attack. Mi-sun's face went white. What is she talking about? Chairman Park demanded of his daughter. I don't know what she means, Mi-sun said quickly. I've never met with any maid. We have surveillance footage, David interjected quietly, from the cafe, time-stamped, and we have testimony from Sumin herself about the questions you asked. specifically about when Mr. Kong would be home and when Maya would be present. This is ridiculous. Mi-sun stood abruptly. You're going to believe a maid? Some conspiracy theory from a woman who's clearly trying to establish herself by eliminating her rivals. Sit down, Mi-sun. Minjun's voice was ice. We're not finished. I won't be interrogated like a criminal. Mi-sun's composure was completely shattered now. I've known you since we were children. My family has supported yours for generations. And you choose her? Some African nobody who probably planned this whole thing to trap you. Careful, Minjun said softly, dangerously. The only person who planned anything was you. The only person who betrayed decades of trust was you. And the only person who's going to pay for the attempt on my life is you. Chairman Park stood, his face ashen. Mi-sun, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't. She wanted to possess what she couldn't have, Maya said, standing to face Mi-sun across the table. So she decided if she couldn't have you, no one would. The attack was supposed to kill you. I was supposed to be there to witness it, maybe even be blamed for it. Clean, simple, tragic. Except I survived, Minjun said. And Maya saved me. And now you're exposed. Mi-sun's beautiful face twisted with rage. You should have been mine. We were promised to each other. And then you refused, you rejected me for your pride, for your independence, for your stupid principles. And now this? You marry a maid? A foreigner? You dishonor me. Dishonor my family. Dishonor everything we could have been. We were never going to be anything, Minjun said flatly. I don't love you. I never loved you. You were a business arrangement I refused to honor. And her. Mi-sun gestured wildly at Maya. You love her? This nobody who's been here for 5 minutes. Yes. Minjun moved to stand beside Maya, his hand finding hers. I love her. She's brave and brilliant, and she sees me in ways you never could. She saved my life without hesitation, without calculation. That's love, Mi-sun. Something you've never understood. The words hit Maya like a physical force. He'd said them, in front of everyone. And the way he looked at her, there was no pretense, no acting. This was real. Security, David said quietly into his phone. Take Mississippi Park into custody. 2 guards moved toward Mi-sun. She looked around wildly, seeing no support, no escape. Her father had turned away, shame and anger warring on his face. This isn't over, Mi-sun spat at Maya. You think you've won? You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. And when he realizes what a mistake he's made. Enough. Minjun's voice cut through her tirade. Take her to the secure room. Call the authorities. Attempted murder, conspiracy, hiring assassins. Let her face justice. As Mi-sun was led away, still screaming threats and insults, the remaining guests sat in stunned silence. Maya found she was shaking. Minjun's arm wrapped around her immediately, solid and warm. I think, Minjun said to the room, this party is over. Thank you all for attending. Those who need to discuss business, David will coordinate meetings. Everyone else, please leave. The guests filed out quickly, whispers already starting about what they'd witnessed. The scandal would spread through Seoul's underground within hours. Finally, only Maya and Minjun remained in the empty penthouse, the celebration decorations suddenly looking forlorn. You said you loved me, Maya said quietly. I meant it. Minjun turned her to face him, his hands framing her face. I know it's too soon. I know this all started wrong. But Maya, these past weeks, getting to know you, working with you, watching you be brilliant and brave and completely yourself, I'm falling for you. Maybe I already have. Tears burned in Maya's eyes. You married me without my consent. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making that right if you'll let me. But I need you to know, this isn't obligation anymore. This isn't just protection. This is me, falling in love with my own wife and hoping she might feel something for me too. Maya looked at this man who'd upended her life, who'd trapped her and saved her, who'd given her power and partnership and protection. I don't know if I love you yet, she admitted, but I'm starting to. and that terrifies me. Good, Minjun smiled. A real smile that transformed his usually cold features. Be terrified with me. We'll figure it out together. He kissed her again. Slower this time, deeper, like they had all the time in the world. And maybe they did. Take me to bed, Maya whispered against his lips. Are you sure? You're back. The wounds. I'm sure, she said. I want this. I want you. I want to stop pretending this is anything other than what it is. Minjun swept her into his arms, careful of her healing injuries, and carried her toward the master bedroom. Then let's stop pretending. That night, they made their marriage real in every way that mattered. He was gentle with her wounds, passionate with her heart, and thorough in showing her exactly how much she'd come to mean to him. Afterward, wrapped in expensive sheets with the Seoul skyline glittering beyond the windows, Maya traced the scars on Minjun's chest, evidence of his own violent history. What happens now? She asked. Now we rebuild, Minjun said, his fingers trailing patterns on her spine around her bandages. Mi-sun will face trial. Chairman Park will have to answer for his daughter's actions. The organization will be restructured. And you and I will figure out how to be actually married instead of strategically married. And my sister, Amina, already arranged. She'll arrive next week. I've enrolled her in international school, set up a trust fund, arranged for private tutors if she needs them. She'll be safe here, Maya. I promise. Tears spilled over. Why? Why do all this? Because you're my wife. Because your family is my family now. Because I can and I want to. He kissed her forehead. And because I'm falling in love with you, which means I want you happy. And Amina's safety makes you happy. Maya pressed her face into his chest, overwhelmed. This is really happening. All of it. All of it, Minjun confirmed. The danger, the love, the complicated mess of merging two worlds. All of it. I took a bullet for you, Maya said. 4 bullets, Minjun corrected. And I married you while you were unconscious. So we're both a little crazy. Maya laughed, the sound surprised out of her. We really are. But we're crazy together. Minjun tilted her chin up. And that makes all the difference. As Maya drifted off to sleep in her husband's arms, in a penthouse that was now truly her home, she thought about how much had changed in 3 weeks. How she'd gone from invisible to invincible, from servant to partner, from running for her life to building a new one. She thought about her father, and hoped he could see her now. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just running, but standing her ground. She'd taken 4 bullets and gained a kingdom. And maybe, just maybe, she'd found love in the most unlikely place. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The trial, the restructuring, learning to truly be Mrs. Kong instead of just playing the role. But tonight, wrapped in the arms of a man who'd started as her captor and become her partner, Maya Chen was exactly where she needed to be. Home. If you loved this incredible journey from waitress to wife, from invisible to invincible, smash that like button and drop a comment telling us, what was your favorite moment in Maya and Minjun's story? Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another amazing story. And seriously, go check out Novatails TV right now. Their channel is absolutely incredible, with story after story that will keep you hooked for hours. You won't regret it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.